Okay, let's dive into this.
First things first, let's get our definition straight. Deep learning is not magic, okay? It is simply a very specific subfield of machine learning. It's characterized by its use of multi-layer, or deep, neural networks that automatically learn hierarchical representations from raw data. That's a mouthful, but really, the word deep just refers to the number of hidden layers in the network. It usually means anything more than two.
To put that all into perspective, think of it like this. Artificial intelligence is the giant overarching umbrella. Inside that, you've got machine learning. And then inside machine learning, the tree branches into two totally distinct paths: traditional or shallow machine learning and deep learning. Now, traditional ML includes highly effective models like random forests, support vector machines, and gradient boosters like XGBoost. These shallow models typically have at most one or two layers of transformation. They are basically the absolute workhorses of the industry, standing right alongside their deeper, newer siblings. Moving on to Section 2, the feature engineering divide. This is the core difference that drives almost every single engineering trade-off we're going to talk about. And this brilliantly illustrates that exact divide. Let's say we want to predict house prices, right? In traditional ML, you, the engineer, you have to do all the heavy lifting. You're manually extracting numerical features, things like square footage, the number of bedrooms, the year the place was built. You handcraft those data points and feed them into your model. But with deep learning, the feature extraction is totally automatic. You just feed the network raw, messy, unstructured data, like literally just a raw image of the house or a random paragraph of description text, and the model somehow figures out what features matter entirely on its own. So how does it actually do that? Well, a deep neural network builds its understanding layer by layer, from scratch. For that house image, layer 1 might just learn to identify simple edges, basic textures. By layer 5, it's combining those edges to recognize actual room shapes. And by the time we hit layer 10, the network has learned to identify really high-level, complex concepts. It knows, oh, this house has a garage, or this is a modern kitchen layout. It's essentially, actually scratch that. It's literally an I know it when I see it pattern recognition system that requires absolutely zero manual human intervention to figure out the rules. Which brings us to Section 3, the deep learning fallacy. Let's systematically break down this whole bigger is always better idea with some real-world engineering constraints. Let's look at a real-world case study here, predicting credit risk. Now, this is tabular data. That means it's highly structured, organized neatly in rows and columns, like income, payment history, things like that. Notice how traditional ML, using a model like XGBoost, trains in just 30 seconds and spits out a prediction in 2 milliseconds. But look at the deep learning model. That took hours of tuning and is 25 times slower to make a prediction. So for structured, tabular data, traditional ML is faster, cheaper, and often slightly more accurate, proving once and for all, deep learning definitely does not always win. But let's completely flip the script. Check out case study 2, object detection in self-driving cars. Here, we're dealing with millions of camera images, super messy, unstructured data. In this scenario, traditional ML is just completely unfeasible. I mean, you simply cannot manually handcraft features to teach a computer what a pedestrian crossing in the rain at night looks like. It's impossible. Deep learning, however, achieves massive accuracy even though it requires a seriously heavy-duty GPU cluster to pull it off. For unstructured data like this, deep learning isn't just the winner, it's practically the only practical solution. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that when you zoom out and look at the macro differences side by side, the trade-offs become incredibly clear. You've got the heavy compute demands of deep learning requiring expensive GPUs versus the super CPU-friendly traditional ML. You can clearly see the sheer speed of traditional ML's microsecond latency. But most importantly, look right down there at the performance rows. Traditional ML is excellent on tabular data, but pretty poor on unstructured data. Meanwhile, deep learning is frankly mediocre on tabular data, but it is absolute state-of-the-art on unstructured data. They aren't competing, they're just completely different tools for completely different jobs. But choosing deep learning comes with a massive caveat, perfectly represented by this staggering giant number right here. 100 billion. That is the approximate number of unlabeled tokens, basically pieces of words, required to build a foundational large language model from scratch. I cannot overstate this. Deep learning is notoriously almost unimaginably data hungry. This extreme appetite for data is due to a concept known as the curse of dimensionality. Because deep networks have to learn every single feature and pattern combination entirely from scratch across multiple layers, the possible combinations just become astronomical. Just consider the scaling here. A simple linear regression, it might only need a few dozen examples. A random forest needs maybe a few thousand. But a convolutional neural network needs upwards of 500,000 labeled examples. And LLMs, as we saw, require billions. Now, yes, engineers can use techniques like transfer learning to fine-tune existing models with way less data, but the base models themselves, they still require an astronomical amount of information to function at all. Okay, Section 4, the interpretability gap. Let's slow down for a second and talk about the real-world consequences and the human costs associated with how these complex models actually make their decisions. Think about it. When an AI makes a decision, can it actually explain why? With traditional ML, like a random forest model, the logic is highly traceable. It can explicitly tell you, hey, this loan was rejected due to a specific high debt-to-income ratio. It makes sense. But a deep neural network, that is a total black box. It rejects the loan and just spits out a raw confidence score of, say, 0.12. To even guess why it made that choice, engineers have to use complex external approximation tools like SHAP. And listen, in highly regulated industries, we're talking finance, healthcare, insurance, this lack of native interpretability isn't just a minor annoyance. It can be a complete, literal deal breaker. Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into our final blueprint. Choosing the absolute right tool for the job. This branching path is the exact logic experienced ML engineers use in the real world. It starts with two super simple questions. Number 1, do you have more than 100,000 labeled examples? If the answer is no, just stop right there, use traditional ML. If yes, you move to question 2. Is your data unstructured? Images, audio, free-flowing text. If it's just a tabular spreadsheet, you still default to traditional ML. It is only when you have massive amounts of data and that data is unstructured that deep learning becomes the undeniably correct tool for the job.